takanopinda nevidhio rakapenga iri, and I see a lot of people vachicompare madisplays esamsung eiphone maiziva kuinstagram uko, and I think kuti vanhu vazhinji a lot including me ndaisati tozivawo kuti samsung ndinotogadzira madisplays eiphone maiziva those oled screens amunenge chitinya pamaiphone enyaya those displays are actually made by samsung maiziva. So in this day and age these companies actually need each other maiziva, in the money talks. So in this video I'm going to talk about in depth chingoitika mawed relationships and mamwe macompany amusingazivi nezvavo maiziva, tichingoudzanawo kuti how far, and let's get into the video maiziva. So a real world example maiziva, let's say ini ndine tuck shop yangu maiziva, tine tuck shop yangu panext pangu pane tuck shop, we are in the same industry, tese tine matuck shop tese da indo andaita chingwa changu chanene chibheka ndega padheni pangu maiziva, ndichibheka ndega padheni pangu ipapo just because ndikuti ndam business rechingwa, I need customers are reliable anotenga chingwa ichocho. So would it make sense kuti nditengesere chingwa ichocho ku the other tuck shop inenge iri panext pangu? A lot of you would say no, but hear me out. In the business world, it would actually make sense maiziva, but because I've gained a steady customer inotenga chingwa changu in bulk maiziva, so that is a steady income inenge ichiwa every day, every week maiziva. So in the business world, Samsung actually makes a lot of things maiziva, and the Samsung it makes TVs, microwave, fridge, washing machine. But what you didn't know is actually Samsung is also a display company, and actually the best in the world when it comes to making displays. So chinchitika ngechekuti just because Samsung inenge ichida mari iri outside of maphones ayo, magalaxy phones ayo, just because Apple the iPhone came to Samsung kuti supplyirwe ma-display companies ayo, and Apple just because it's a major smartphone brand, it doesn't rely only on Samsung, but just because Samsung is the only display company inogadzira ma-displays the mass level inenge chidikana nemaunits anenge adotengeswa ne-Apple, it actually makes sense kungo apo ngodina ku Samsung, although they're actually ma-rivalries in the smartphone world. So in this video I just wanted to say kuti just because Samsung makes displays, it would make sense kuti from a standpoint kuti they are in the competitive space, both making phones. What if Samsung just said no one day maiziva, iPhone 18 Pro, ma 18 Pro Max achabuda, Apple enda Samsung ichikumbira kugadzirwa madisplays and ma-specifications Apple airi kuda for the iPhone 18 Pro and ma-folds achabuda, and Samsung just said no. Munongoona omega kuti it would actually put Apple in a tough spot. It would have to rely on another LG, of which another LG they don't awasipa standard Apple ema-displays varingo vachida, so it would actually make the iPhones of that year a little bit worse maiziva, and just because akaita worse, that means more users would switch to my Samsung phones, and Samsung would benefit a lot from this. But just because Samsung, the display company and also the smartphone company, it actually makes a lot of money from selling my displays to my phone brands, and the Apple is not the only one maiziva. So if you didn't know this, but Samsung actually made more money selling the displays for the iPhone X more than they made from selling the Galaxy S8 back in those days maiziva. So that is a huge thing to do for smartphone world, just because having multiple streams of income is actually a very good thing. So from a business point, it actually doesn't make sense kuramba kugadzira Apple madisplays anenge chida. So again, money talks maiziva. You befe inofana tombaisa paside tongogadzira zvinhu zvinenge chidwa neApple, although there are phones zvoti dzinokombewa singaite. That's something that I thought you should know maiziva. Samsung actually makes my displays my iPhone products anofarira my iPhone makatobata my iPhone users. So that's something you should know, Mazia. And so like I said, Mazia, and another relationship in my companies is very weird. My smartphone companies are weird, is between Google and Samsung, Mazia. So Google makes their own phones. I think you know the Pixel phones. My phones are an magic, my camera, and Samsung makes their Galaxy phones. But just because the fact equity Google, just because Google is the spine of Android, it made Android the software, and because Samsung uses software from Google, Samsung buys every it buys my rights kushandisa Android as a software skin yayo. And if you notice that every Android company pays Google money kushandisa software yayo, and every Android company uses another skin on top of Android. So paper one UI 8.5, one UI 8, one UI 7. If you go to the settings Samsung phone yako and mnaona pane pakanzi Android version panzi one UI version, those are two different things. Android version is the base software and one UI is the skin is Samsung. Amazing. So just because this relationship is solidified furthermore by the fact that Samsung is the supreme Android phone, and because Samsung obviously runs Android, Samsung is the portal into Android, and Google actually benefits from this just because the partnership between my companies is because Samsung effectively to Android. That means Google can approach Samsung and talk with it kuti my apps Gemini. I think you've noticed because sometimes ukatenga phone yako Samsung out of the box ingengone Gemini pre-installed nema Google apps those apps they're being paid for with agarari pre-installed chokobudisa phone yako box, just because Google knows because Samsung sells a lot of more phones than them, they can use that as to their advantage. So by adding their apps already in the pre-installed panotenga phone yako iri one paper, that's because just because my apps anongo added my defaults, you are ungopesa watongo mashandisa pamezi. So that's more users for Google just because those apps are Google owned, and because you're using a Samsung unotonga noti ndocho chatonga msoro wait amazing. So Pixel phones, of course, yes, they are good, but just because Google katongonoti Samsung is the king when it comes to Android, they made that deal, measure. And again, like I said, money talks, and Google has been paying Samsung a lot of money just to get those apps pre-installed on my phones. Samsung achibukatokobuda box, anana Gemini chichia, anana Google Messages and stuff like that. So that's more users. That's more users for Google are kufaneliwa through my sales aningachita my Samsung phones, just because Samsung is the king when it comes to my Android phones. So that's it from me, and I hope you got some useful information from this video. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel Mazia. Tikiramba chipusha content yakadai so Mazia. So that's it from me, and I'll catch you in the next one Mazia. Peace.